in this building today. We started the Monterey County Black Caucus in 2020. We were doing some landscaping and some mapping, and then in 2021 we were still in virtual world, so we met monthly via Zoom. And in 22 we went back to the drawing board to do some more strategic planning, implementing trainings, and the various action teams that we have across our county. And so I'll just shout out some of those action teams, and if you lead that team, you can kind of just wave. I'll start with Peninsula Parents, because Jesse just looked at me. And we have some of our parents in the room. Glad to have you here. Then we have Seaside Rising Youth Leadership Academy. We have our Wellness Wednesday. We have our facilitator and our students and some faculty from Seaside High. We have our Black Power Building Thriving Neighborhoods. Robert. And our Black Power Building in Salinas, where we're really building our bridge and reconnecting all the work that we do, and that's Pastor Smith. And then we just have, you know, the whole BHC umbrella, different entities. I definitely cannot omit my executive director, Andrea, our office manager, Maria, and one of our favorites, who has, you know, ventured out to be an ally in another space, but she definitely was our pillar in our healing-informed practices, and that's Laura Tinajado, who now works for the Department of Justice in Sacramento. And so I didn't plan to really be this long right now. Keep eating, the food's still here, keep going back, but we have some folks that we want to shout out, and I'm going to start with two people that are very near and dear to us and the work that we do on the ground, and then they're going to roll out our other special invitees here. So Liz Posey and Chang Ung are from James Irvine Foundation. Let's give them a round of applause. Good evening. How is everyone doing tonight? Thank you for the warm welcome into your space. My name is Liz Posey. I work for the James Irvine Foundation and the Priority Communities Initiative. I'm a senior program officer. Our initiative director, Jessica Kaczmarek, wanted to make it today and was not able to make it. I wanted to state that the James Irvine Foundation has been investing in this region for officially under the initiative about 3 years, but then pre-initiative, maybe an additional 2 years. And so for about 5 years, we've had a presence here in the region. My colleague Chang Ung and I recently joined the foundation about 2 years ago, right as the initiative was starting to scale up. And what was very apparent is that we were missing meaningful engagement and inclusion of Black communities in the informing of the strategies that are being funded in this initiative. It's the only place-based initiative in the foundation, $135 million over 5 communities: Fresno, Stockton, San Bernardino, Riverside, and Salinas. And so the Salinas designation also shaped in some ways the populations around the original outreach for the grant. And so we want to acknowledge that and to say that we intend to correct that and to ensure that there's inclusion of Black communities and investment in Black communities in this region, using a regional approach informed by Rosalind and so many others who have helped us understand how the region understands itself, the history of this region, the history of Black communities in this region, and what needs to happen to really address structural racism. The institution has also recently, within the last 2 years when Chang and I came on board, shifted into a racial equity strategy. And so the institution was very race agnostic in its approach to funding. And given the racial justice uprisings that I know so many of you participated in across this country, agitating around the issues of structural racism and anti-Black racism, that created an opening for James Irvine and so many other institutions to take a look at themselves and look at how they were perpetuating that. And so Chang and I are also on the committee setting racial equity goals at the institution to figure out how to operationalize that commitment. And we're committed to taking a hard look at this region and what needs to shift and how we're going to take a hard approach. So we have some partners that we've been working with around inclusive economic development and thinking about how to diversify the jobs in this region and create more good quality jobs in this region. And so we'll be introducing one of the partners that we've been working with who has a long history here with folks here in the region and Black communities here in the region. So we're really excited about some of the important work that's happening here and taking an intentional approach to ensure that Black communities are included and invested in being a part of that strategy. And I'll pass it to my colleague Chang to introduce and tell a little bit about ourselves and the initiative structure and impact.
Good evening, everyone. I'm looking shocked because I was not prepared to talk. I looked across the room and Liz was giving me like hand signals that I was going to have to come up. So once again, good evening. My name is Chang Un. I'm a program officer at the James Irvine Foundation, and so thankful and grateful for all of you for being in space with you tonight. As Liz shared, we are both within the Priority Communities Initiative team at the James Irvine Foundation. And it's our place-based grant-making initiative that's really focused on building inclusive economies in 5 local cities. And really, our impact goals are really about creating more good jobs in these regions, making sure that local residents have access to those good jobs. So whether it's training that they need to get those good jobs or whatever other resources to get those good jobs, and making sure that we help support community practices that lead to the spread of the good jobs. And so we're doing a lot of learning, a lot of listening. Liz and I are both not from Salinas or not from this region, and so I want to thank Rosalind and so many of the amazing leaders here who have, over the last 2 years, have been really honest and have pushed us and our institution to better show up in this region. And want to thank all of you for that continued partnership. And Liz, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Jane. So I will now pass the mic to Josh Metz. He's with the Monterey Bay DART. We've been working with DART to look at both inclusive economic development strategies around climate-smart technologies to diversify the economy and create on-ramps to paid training opportunities that lead to good quality jobs. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Liz and Chang and Rosalind Green for inviting us here tonight, and thank you all for taking the time to give us this window to talk about this work that we're doing, which has actually a long history and stems out of the place where Rosalind and I first met, which was the Fourth Ward Reads Authority. And about 10 years ago, we met there. I spent the subsequent 7 years working in economic development and looking for opportunities to establish new jobs in the region that had family sustaining wages. And so this is a story about how that started and how it's continued, and with the growth of some really exciting companies, Joby Aviation, chief among them, we're really starting to see the interest in the strategies that the Irvine Foundation has pursued. We're really starting to see some great outcomes. And so, yeah, so thank you for the chance to be here. So I'm going to click on the screen here for you. So this is just a little bit of a timeline where the Fourth Ward Reads Authority, who's familiar with the Fourth Ward Reads Authority? I see Dominique right there. Yeah, you're there too. Great, nice to see you again. Fort Ord Reuse Authority was a special district that was set up when the base closed in 1994 to facilitate the reuse of the base. And I think over the course of its 25 years of operation, there were many wins. It set the foundation for a lot of what has happened out there now, but some folks maybe are not happy with all the outcomes, but I think all in total, it's set a foundation for some really amazing stuff that's going on now. And as I mentioned, while I was working in this economic development space, we were looking around the region saying, what are some of the key drivers of new jobs here and economic activity? And we saw that this emergence of these advanced technologies were really representing an opportunity. And so we pursued a FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, opportunity to establish a drone innovation site here at the Marina Airport back in 2017. And that brought together an initial coalition of industry, academia, and government entities that were seeing this as an opportunity. While we did not win the designation, that kind of got us going. One thing that I found in doing this work is it's kind of a long story, so you have to keep going, you know, and build on incremental successes. So a bunch of things happened, including the growth of Joby Aviation, which is this amazing electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft that's now being manufactured here in Marina. And they started looking at the Marina Airport in 2019. And we, too, of course, were affected by the pandemic. Among other things that happened, the Fort Ord Reuse Authority closed its operations in 2020. There were some of us who were celebrating its closure at the end of the day, June 30th. We formed a nonprofit to carry on this activity, and that's what the Monterey Bay DART is, Drone Automation and Robotics Technology Initiative. And so it was in 22 that we met the Irvine Foundation, and they learned about our work looking to train people and create opportunities for people into these advanced technology opportunities. And so we've been pursuing the strategy, so DART, and we like to have a little fun, so we made a DART board, and that's a joke line. It is a DART board. Really the blue parts are the different sectors that these technologies are being used within, and that's sort of the opportunity space. And so our function is to work with industry, academia, government, and community-based organizations to realize the opportunities that these new technologies represent for the community. And we've been doing that work now pretty steadily. This is the Joby aircraft. You might have seen it flying out of the Marina Airport. It's very impressive looking and operating, and Pete's going to tell you a lot about that, so I won't steal too much of the thunder there. But this is another example of the application of this technology. This is a gentleman using a drone to inspect infrastructure, so power lines or water pipelines or other types of infrastructure that fuel our cities and towns. They need regular inspection, and these tools like this thing over here that Michael's standing behind are increasingly customized for these different uses. So this is one of the emerging job opportunities that we're talking about. Here's another example. This is an agricultural technology application. This is not a flying drone, but it's a wheel robot. So it's being it's weeding a field out in the Salinas Valley. Now this company is actually manufacturing these tractors in Watsonville. So it's a new growing company that's here that's hiring people to do this advanced manufacturing. So they're another one of our partners. This is a picture of a large drone that's being built in La Selva Beach, just west of Watsonville. And it's designed to support wildfire support. They'll move gear to wild firefighters at night and in smoky conditions with this thing created by Parallel Flight. And we're talking about the technology, but we're also most importantly talking about the people that are working to make the technology happen. and to keep it going, operations and maintenance. And that's where it really comes down to the value to the community. So this is a gentleman working on maintaining some of the agricultural robots that are used in the processing of fresh produce in Taylor Farms operations in Salinas Valley. So we need people that understand how to do this work and can then get on a track to these higher paying career pathways. There's also people who need to learn about software and optimization within systems. So that's another level of opportunity, software and computer operations, of course, and then manufacturing. So this is the gentleman who's now has been through the apprenticeship program that we started in partnership with the James Irvine Foundation this last year. We had 21 people that came through this program. They were able to earn while they learned for a 6-month period. They came in, many of them with very little or no manufacturing experience, and were taken through a training program, on-the-job training program, paid during that time, and now have full-time jobs at Joby. Out of 21 people that came into the program, there was 18 who have completed the program and found their way into full-time jobs at substantially higher wages than they started with. So that's a great example of what this type of opportunity is. And so the thing we really like to talk about with Liz, myself, and Peter's colleague, Cody, who's not here tonight, we got together and we were talking about what's possible in a philanthropic funded program where we could really see real jobs come out at the other end. Because one of the things we heard about, Rosalind and I talked about it, some of the training programs during the four-up period, there were training in jobs in construction or other type of trades, and at the end there were no jobs to be had. And so we really wanted to make sure that there were real jobs for people. And so this has been a great pilot, and if all goes well, we'll be continuing the apprenticeship program for another round this fall and into next spring with another cohort of apprentices. So one thing you want to do is talk to Peter tonight and get on the list if you have know you yourself or know people who might be interested in these opportunities. You can also talk to me about it. So one of the things that's happened through the work with the Irvine Foundation, that they're doing this large strategy. They're funding multiple types of organizations, ours, but also ones like the Building Healthy Communities that Rosalind is talking about. We're all now able to get to know each other and to meet each other and develop these productive relationships, and that's been really important in making this apprenticeship program work. In particular, one of the things that came out of this effort was initially there was the opportunities that Joey was advertising for. They weren't getting a lot of strong uptake in the local population. But by working with our community-based organizations, we were able to help them understand what the opportunities were and what the type of skill sets that were being needed and facilitate people's connectivity to this program. And that dramatically increased the number of people who were applying for them and the success rate of the program. Question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are doing good jobs, but we've never heard.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Was we heard that from the folks we were working with from the Salinas area. They were saying the same thing. So what we did was we started taking individual small groups to tours with Peter and his colleagues. First, the leaders of those communities or organizations, and they themselves got to see what was happening inside this incredible modern facility over there, the types of jobs people were doing. And then it was through that they then saw an opportunity, were able to translate it to their community members. And then it's basically through this process that we were able to spread the word. And like I said, we had a dramatic increase in applicants at that time. And a lot of it has to do kind of with where the opportunities were being posted and who's looking for them there and all these kind of things.
Were
Peter is Mr. Peter Joby Church. He runs the workforce development program at Joby, so he'll be able to talk specifically about that. And if you want to answer it now, go ahead.
And there's a little split and spread across through different programs. But to answer both of your questions, we're going to different auto technology classes at Seaside, Monterey, and Marina High, as well as going to Monterey Peninsula College's auto tech and engineering courses. That picture of, that was Ricky, he was an MCBC graduate, went to Mr. Evans' auto tech class at Seaside High, and was machining heads down at Skip's machine shop. And we hired him in and had an incredible skill set. There was a pay raise, increase in benefits, and then instead of machining Subaru heads, he was countersinking composite parts to do airframe assembly. So we had of the 20 apprentices, which was the pilot program, we had 4 that came from Seaside, 5 that came from Marina, and then the rest from Salinas. Yeah. So we've been going mainly to the high schools, community colleges, and I was actually just talking to Roz, and we're working with MCBC to do work, study, and internship job placements. So while you're studying at MCBC, instead of doing a night shift, flipping burgers or something like that to pay for your tuition, you can be working in the field that you're studying. So you're increasing your skill sets, your experience, and then building the relationships with local industry. So when you're graduating, we already know you know, and it's just like, boom, okay, you can be ground running. So that's our intent with the workforce development side of it, to get in the community.
I have one other question. Do you have?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to know, what about the people who's not in high school that wants those same opportunities? How do we go about finding out and getting connected with that?
Right now, it wasn't quite that, but the same thing. What about, we have programs like the Village Project, we have programs like the Village Project that work with young kids, and if there's some kind of training, just coming and talking to them and kind of giving them an idea, because, these kids today can work video games and everything, and that's what technology is all about. So they can get into type Lego and start working from that area as a child, so that when they do get to high school, do they get to college, then they'll know what they want to do or what they want to do.
That's a great idea, and honestly, that's why we're here tonight. So this last year was the first time we did it, and we were going from a small research development and kind of prototyping company to being like, oh, well, we're getting all the best engineers and technicians from the world, and now we're kind of scaling up, and we're in a place that doesn't have aerospace. So we were going into a dark room with a flashlight and thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? So we went to the education, their institutes of education first, to see people that are interested in that. Those are all great ideas, and kind of building it from the ground up. Absolutely.
This is to go deeper on the education piece, though, creating a pathway through ROP. I know you're going out and speaking to classes, but have you gone to district level where you can create pathways where they can get credit and already have those credits going into college?
We have more to say that's right. Answer this one, and then there's more to say we're in line.
Yeah, so we were working with Monterey County Office of Education to develop the CTE, Career Technical Education Pathways. So I've been working with Tony Sanchez, who's the MPUSD CTE coordinator, to get into all of those schools so we can align on what we want as industry, and then they can start to develop. So okay, yeah, absolutely. I need to get your person. We actually just rolled out or finished our first internship program with Monterey County Workforce Development Board. We have 12 18 to 24-year-olds. So they graduates. We have some fresh graduates, some people that are searching for their career path. One of them was a Salinas Unified ROP graduate, and of those 12 people, 3 of them got direct placement jobs and are full-time employees. 3 more are doing work-study programs through Cardinal and MPC, and then others went off on their own way. So we're starting it, and it's gaining momentum, but that is absolutely one of the approaches that
Yeah, so just to follow up on that, what we're talking about is this initial program that has just been piloted this year with an initial grant funding from the Irvine Foundation and these connections that we're building. And the lessons of that are now going to inform the next round. And part of our ecosystem of community of network is the educational institutions with whom we're also raising these issues, just like we're talking about. It needs to be multiple levels of integration down, from young all the way up. So, yeah, we're here to make these connections tonight and want to establish them to work over time on this, because nothing happens overnight. And this is just an example of some of the folks in Salinas with whom we've been working, who had us in Acción and the CITE cohort of which Rosamond, I know, is part. And I think Liz touched on the awareness that the foundation has had about needing to make more investments in that African American community directly. And so that's kind of what we're starting with here. So scaling up from local education at the youth level all the way up into college, we have a number of partnerships that we have with the University of California, and you'll hear about some of those with Michael and Becca from UC Santa Cruz. We also have programs that we're doing with CSU Monterey Bay. There's a drone camp, and I think we had at least 1 or 2 folks from Seaside who joined the drone camp this year. And so again, it's kind of just getting the ball started. We brought the drone camp to Monterey. Was it 5 years ago or 6 years ago now? So that's another opportunity for training and education. So some other activities that we're undertaking as part of this body of work, collective body of work, is a current study that we're looking at industry demand for these skills. Again, to get to that point where we're confident that if people do the education, that they will have job opportunities or career pathway opportunities once they develop those skills. So working with Michael and Becca and some others, we're implementing a skills demand study, which we will have by the end of the year a good estimation of how these technology skills are in demand in agriculture, construction, infrastructure inspection, and aerospace in this region. And so that's one piece of work that's underway. We also have been looking at the need and opportunity for a specialized regional workforce training center that would really focus in on these modern technology skills. And I'm almost done, which is the good news. And we have some other things that I'll talk about, but the big one is we have this symposium that this will be the 4th year. It's happening at CSU Monterey Bay in October, and there'll be a lot of talk about all of this stuff in the aerospace and in the agricultural technology and workforce development arenas. So you're all invited to learn about that and join us there. And that's the join us slide. So I think my 1 minute, how'd I do?
Hi everybody, thanks for having me. I'm Peter, and I spoke a little bit earlier. And who's heard of Joby Aviation here? Okay, awesome. Who's seen it fly? Awesome, cool, yeah. You can look up at East Blanco. It goes from Marina all the way to the dump and then back around. So just make sure when you're driving by, you're looking up. And it's not a UAP or unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's or a drone. It is a Joby, an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. And this is kind of a slick corporate presentation, so we'll keep it quick. But we are essentially trying to solve a problem of congestion. Everybody here lives in California, well familiar with traffic. We all have that fantasy of just lifting up and flying over it. Yeah, right. So that's what we're trying to solve. Is the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line. You can fly over congestion, mountains, water, and since we are fully electric, no direct emissions, better for the environment, and it's a lot quieter. So this is the aircraft. As you might see, we're based right out of here in Marina for the manufacturing and flight test. Like I said, 0 emissions, got about 150-mile range, so really shorter hops. 1 pilot and 4 passengers, so it's not a drone, it is actually a piloted aircraft. And a top speed of 200 miles an hour. So it'd be nice to get from here up to San Francisco in about 20-30 minutes. I'm going to skip this video so I can get to the meat and potatoes of it. But we're partnered with Delta Airlines and Uber, and we intend on interfacing with a phone. So you can hail the aircraft on your phone, go to smaller airports, or parking garages, heliports, vertiports, to have it as accessible as possible. About 100 times quieter than a helicopter, and the intent is to have it operate about the same cost as an Uber Black. So as we get up to scale, have it be as accessible and cheap as possible. But I'm kind of ripping through these slides because I know a lot of the questions are around what we're doing here and all the programs that we have in your community. Like I said, our partners are Toyota, which are helping us with the manufacturing. We have a bunch of Toyota engineers here in Marina, helping us develop all the processes and procedures to not make this one aircraft that a bunch of incredibly intelligent people engineered and designed, when there's only one of them, but how to make a lot of them exactly the same that are certifiable and can go out into the public safely. Of our facilities, our headquarters are in Santa Cruz. That's where our founder and CEO is from. We have a lot of the software engineering prototyping up there. Our battery and powertrain and electronics are made up in San Carlos. And like I said, right here in Marina, we have our manufacturing and flight test. So all the parts come to Marina. They go in one side of that big mega tent, the big white thing that you see up off of reservation and engine. And then an aircraft rolls out the other side. Right now it's taken a couple months, but the ideal is once we get up to scale, about 1 month, 1 aircraft. And I will play this one because this is a pretty cool video that shows all of the different aspects that go into making it. So you can see some of the technologies that we're employing right here in Marina. It's just on the laptop speakers, but you can, it's a very quiet aircraft. And the Marina Airport is a public space, so you can come by and watch it fly, whatever it is. So we have one that is doing up and away testing, and then our first production prototype just came off the out of Marina 1 month ago, 2 months ago. And that just started hover testing. So now we have 2. But again, the main reason that we're here is that we partnered with Josh and Dart and Liz and the Irvine Foundation for this apprenticeship that just finished its first year, and it's been a fantastic success. And I kind of already touched on some of the programs that, avenues that we went to kind of source talent and find different skill sets and aptitudes that are already in the community that a recruiter might look at and be like, oh, well, we don't have any experience in robot operator. Okay, well, I know that Seaside High just has a makerspace and they're operating 3D printers and laser cutters and all of these other things at that high school level. Where's the interest? Where are the people that want to pursue that? And then we can go right to that school. Ricky, again, was going traditional machine shop. So airframe assembly technician probably isn't on his job search. But to go out and say like, hey, we noticed that you know how to machine, you're getting things down to the 100th of an inch. What do you think about going into this skill set? And we were able to get people picking spinach in the fields in Greenfield to plasma preparing carbon fiber for airframe assembly within 6 months. And we've learned an incredible amount, like I said, this is the first time we did it. And we're really excited to, all the lessons learned, continue to reach out to the community and build those programs, because the more that they're out there, the more quality applicants we get, and the more kind of validation and verification from community partners that people are going to be hard workers and skilled and really dedicated to the mission. So it's gone all the way from, like we said, high school, kind of just get the word out there and say, hey, these are some of the jobs that are available, to getting to the community, college, 4-year university programs, and giving work-study internship opportunities. And most importantly, getting paid while you're training. Because there's a lot of training that goes into it. You realize that even if you're getting a free community college education, you're not making money. So the pace that things are happening at Joby is so fast that we can't really wait for the institutions to catch up and have the programs and the training available. We have great teams that are really talented and can get people going quickly. And so it has been an incredible success for the 20 people that we've had. And we've been hiring a lot alongside that. It's just kind of been the microscope of evaluating our own practices in recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and then onboarding and training to learn as much lessons as a company that we can and how to better integrate with the community. That's all I have, unless anybody has any other questions.
It sounds like a great program. What is the capacity to build and scale? Because it sounds really awesome.
What's the capacity to build and scale?
Communities. You said being trained and hire and then expand.
That's a great question. There's a lot of enthusiasm and interest, so I think without being too corny, the sky's the limit. Because we're not the only company that's doing this out here, and the skill sets apply across multiple industries. One of our competitors is right in Salinas, and another one in Hollister, and the greater aerospace, automotive industries, drone industry, agriculture. The technology is not just for us, right? So no matter how much we scale, and these programs that go into, it helps us as a company because we're training and developing skill and talent. But it can go to any of the other companies that are out here, because they're machinists and CNC operators and additive manufacturing operators, programmers, in so many companies in the area. Yes.
Just to add on to that question, there is, like as Peter mentioned, a lot of enthusiasm at all levels of regional education planning, and there's for example, just recently been a major proposal put forward to the Economic Development Administration about furthering this work in an organized fashion through a tech hub designation that would potentially bring additional resources from the federal government here. So it's this strategic alliance and work that's happening across multiple levels that we're talking about. And Joby is a great asset to have. They're like our anchor tenant, but we want to be able to train people with these new technology skills broadly, so it's like Peter is saying, that they can be transportable. It's not just a job, it's a career pathway, and you can take those skills and use them in multiple stops along your path. So, by being connected here with Irvine Foundation and with what they're starting to do with Rosalind and the group here and you all, that's how we're going to do it together. So you're part of it. Who's next? Another question?
I think it would be nice if you would send a letter out to all of the churches explaining the program that you have, because there's a lot of youth, there's a lot of young people in our churches who might want to apply for these positions. So I encourage you to send a letter to all of the churches explaining the program that you have.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, we absolutely will.
I just wanted to say I'm 91 today. I just wanted to know what can we in the community, those of us who work so hard in this community to make it what it is today, we want to know what we can do to support you, to make sure that everybody understands that we are supportive of programs such as this coming into our community and how much we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can say we've had nothing but incredible support. So just having open, honest conversations and kind of so we know where to look and how to get it out to the community, that these positions are available. So thank you very much, because it's making our job.
Good evening. So I hear Joby is leaving Marina now. That's what I hear. Manufacturer.
Where'd you hear that?
It's all over the media. It's all over the media.
I haven't heard any official announcements about where we're going to be putting our major manufacturing facility. But so we have invested a lot of money in Marina Airport, and we continue to manufacture there for quite a while. So it's not going anywhere. Any of those others that I haven't heard any official announcements on where phase 1 made it to. I read the Monterey County article, or Monterey Weekly, Monterey County, but I haven't heard any official announcement. And our marina location, we've invested quite a bit. There's a lot of infrastructure, and we continue to plan to be there for quite a bit.
And I can address some of that because I've been working with a coalition of local interests, all those that we talked about, public, private, government, all of the above, to make the best case, including all the way up to the governor's office here in California, for the expansion in Marina to be as large as it can be. What was reported in the news last week was reported first on a Silicon Valley tech hub, tech crunch, kind of unsubstantiated hearsay, and then it was translated up. And so what we need to do is just wait for any official announcements to come. And what I can say is that, like as Peter described, there's been significant investment out there. They're not leaving. They just may not scale to the maximum level that we're talking about, but already there are hundreds of jobs at the Joby facility in Marina that were not here 4 years ago. And what's likely is that there will be hundreds more, but maybe not thousands more. So I think we need to continue to be positive, continue to work to make this a place for them, build out the ecosystem with multiple companies, and that's what we're working on. So, to your point.
So what can we do to help you to push for advocacy?
Well, I think what we need to do is just keep doing what we've set up, which is train people to do this work. Because whether it's Joby or Wendy, other companies in this space, it's a massive market that's growing. It's an international market space. And if this area can become known as a place where there are people with these skills, we will be able to attract and grow this industry here. And I think that's our best hope. So I hear you. I hear the skepticism, and it's fair. It's fair to bring it up, but just hold your horses and kind of keep it positive. Because it's been a long road to here, and it's not going to just, you know, all of a sudden they're not just going to disappear in the night. I can tell you that. So I know we're way over time, and Rosalind's been giving us the cane over here. We have so much interest. Rosalind, you're the boss.
So we do have one more person to hear from. And I don't want to like stifle the questions. If you don't think you can remember them, maybe you can write them down, because we do also want to get to the reason that we're here, and that is to really focus on what our priorities are, which is part of why they're here, right? We know that economic development, growing our economy is like at the top, but we have some other things we want to just make sure that we get everything prioritized. So after Cider comes, they are going to be here. And as we're going into our little breakout groups, you know, you can pop over, ask your questions, get it answered. If it's something that you think that we should all know or share, we can put it out there. We can like announce it in the end, the question that was answered, etc. But yeah, so I don't want to keep you guys here all night. I know you're about full. I eat yams. I need to take a nap. So I just want to, yes. Okay, so just before, because listen, I was trying to get us to fly this thing indoors in here, and I said, well, we can even step outside. There's a park, but you know, it's here for display. And when we meet again, because we're happy to be in person, like I mentioned, we got started in the pandemic. We are going to have them come back out and do some demonstrations and, you know, bring some kids out to watch the drones and fly the drones, etc. So just before Michael, because he picked up his computer, we're going to do a little uplift with a little trivia. And then we're going to Michael, and then we'll jump into our priorities. How's that sound? Sound good? Okay. I think a little trivia. I don't see nobody with a hat on, so I don't think they're throwing the hat up in the air.
So we're going to do some trivia for Black Card Vote.
Have y'all ever played this game, Black Card before?
Black Card Vote?
Culture tags? Anybody? Okay, so we know culture tags. We got some songs, some trivia, which I'll call it out, and get a point.
Okay. So this is Black Card Vote. The first question is, which historically black sorority was founded first? A, Delta Sigma Theta, B, Zeta Phi Betas, C, Alpha Kappa Alpha, D, Sigma Gamma. Everybody? Okay. Next question. What year was interracial marriage legalized in the U.S.? A, 1964, B, 1952, C, 1973, D, 1967.
64.
67. On a different world, what city was Whitley Gilbert from? A, Charlotte, B, Atlanta, C, Savannah, D, Richmond. Okay, next question. Y'all all better get this right. In which city was Martin Luther King Jr. killed? A, Atlanta, B, Memphis. The next one, I think everybody should know this one. Y'all been going to the Martin Luther King part for a long time. Who wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing, aka the Negro National Anthem? In what city did Rosa Parks refuse to move to the Valley? Approximately how long did Sophia have to fight? But dear God, they're still here. According to Mama, what does it mean if your ear keeps itching? Somebody
you ain't getting them all, Lisa.
Who played the character of Hustle Man on the sitcom Martin? A, Tracy Morgan. Okay, y'all ready for the next one? Before he was a member of the Nation of Islam, what was Malcolm X called? Dirty Red. There's something in front of red. Dirty Red. Detroit Red. Detroit Red. Who said Detroit?
How do you know?
According to Mama, what does it mean if your hand itches?
This way.
Okay, this answer, there's like really no right or wrong answer. It's just the majority wins. By what time did you have to be home when you were in
citrus, but just before Michael comes and takes the mic, I want to give a shout out to someone I was so happy to be introduced to by the James Irvine Foundation folks. It's Carmen Herrera Monsour. Did I chop it? Monsieur. Carmen is Executive Director of El Pájaro Community Development Corporation. And we're going to be looking forward to having some good, deep conversations with her, because the core programs that they offer is Impresari, which is business education program, food webinar series for startups, and that's what speaks volumes to a lot of our Juneteenth vendors, along with commercial kitchen incubator, plaza vigil retail incubator, and El Pájaro CDC microloan program. So a lot of great things they're doing, and they just had ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday, opening up their new office in Salinas. And so I know there's like conversation headed this way. There's some interaction happening in San City. So Seaside, get ready. And Michael, we're ready for you.
Great. Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Rosalind. And Becca Fenwick is joining me as well. All right, so my name is Michael Mennick, and I'm the executive director of a program at UC Santa Cruz called Citrus and Banatao Institute. And this is Dr. Becca Fenwick.
Hi everybody, I'm the director of the Citrus Initiative for Drone Education and Research, so responsible for the flying things in the Monterey.
First off, how many people here have flown a drone before? Great. How many people have been annoyed at the beach or in your backyard by someone else flying a drone? Yes. I think a lot of people. So, we're going to talk about the good kinds of drones, not the ones that annoy you at the beach. Skip that. So we'll skip that as well. So what are drones? So another term you may hear is a UAV, which stands for uncrewed aerial vehicle. So this is a flying vehicle that is piloted by remote control or by onboard computers. So it can fly completely autonomously. You just tell it what to do and it will fly off and do it. So it's a flying robot. And these are very useful for what they call dull, dirty, dangerous, or dear tasks. Things that are so dangerous we don't want to be doing them, or they cost so much to do that we can send something like this out, and it makes it much more affordable to do. So here's some pictures of a few of the different types of drones that we use. The one in the middle is the one over on the table there. And that is a commercial drone that we use for surveys in the field and a number of other things. This one here is the kind of drone that you could go out to Best Buy and pick up for a couple $100. But it has a very good camera on it, and when you fly this, the control you use is almost identical to the control you use to fly that big one. So I heard someone earlier today say that a lot of young people in the community are learning video games, playing video games. And the controllers for these drones looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? This is what a lot of people are using when they play video games. So young people today have a real advantage when it comes to operating a piece of equipment like this. So we like to emphasize that these drones are tools. That's really all it is. This is a piece of equipment that once you learn how to use it, you can apply in many different jobs and industries. And this is something that is increasing and growing every single day. It's incredible how fast this is developing. Let's skip that.
So yeah, like Michael said, the drones, he refers to them as a shuttle, I refer to them as a Swiss Army knife, take your pick. But they can be used in so many different places in so many different ways. So some of the stuff we see around here in local industry is sort of agriculture, it's crop inspection, aerial spraying, land surveying, that kind of stuff. In construction, so mapping out what's going on in a construction zone. The boss can keep track of that you're doing what you say you're doing and what you're building for. Public safety, so you may see like first responders using drones to go in and do assessments of a disaster, like a levee breach or a fire. So they know what they're sending people into and they can plan around that before people go in and go into danger. There's a whole bunch of research. We may talk about it later, but my favorite research use of a drone is called SnotBot. And so there's some very smart people on campus who research whales, and they want to look at the genetics and the population and see how healthy the whales are. Traditionally, you do that by gently harpooning a whale, and it comes back with a little sample of their blubber. And you can imagine I wouldn't want to be shot with a harpoon. That doesn't sound particularly comfortable. So what they've developed is a drone that flies through the exhalation from a whale. So when they come up to surface and they breathe, they go, right, they sneeze effectively. So if they can capture some of the snot that they sneezed out, they can do the genetics on that. And so they're getting information about the whale population that they haven't been able to before by flying through snot. So, you know. Yeah, and then entertainment, aerial photography, shipping, all sorts of things are happening.
So we've got some example videos that we're going to just skip through, but one big use that's very relevant in our state is power line inspection. So PG&E is, this year are going to be doing 30,000 drone inspections of different elements of their infrastructure. In 2024, they're projecting to do 250,000 drone inspections. And in 2025, they're going to be doing over 700,000 drone inspections. So there's going to be a huge increase in demand for drone pilots who can do that kind of work. Flying equipment just like that. They're also used for things like bridge inspections. As Becca mentioned, agriculture, they're flying over fields, they're mapping plants, they're looking at plant health, they're looking at impacts of pests and helping farmers water more efficiently. One big growth area is using drones to actually apply herbicides and pesticides. So they have drones like this that weighs about 100 pounds. It can carry 30 gallons of liquid, and it can actually fly over and apply that in a very specific area in a field. So unlike a crop duster that's going to go and just do the entire field, this can go out and in a very applied way do this. So there's less overspray in the community, there's less use of pesticides, so that is going to be a big growth area we see in the next few years. Oh, and this is, we can take a look at this. So this is a really interesting public safety use of drones. This was right in our backyard. This is the Popper levee breach. When this happened, first responders weren't able to get into that area. It was too dangerous. So they were able to fly a drone over, assess exactly what was happening, and figure out how to respond as safely as possible.
Yeah, so it was much safer for everybody to do this. The other thing that is amazing about this kind of footage is not just the first disaster response and the first responder safety, but it's also communicating what's going on, right? So this video and videos like this were able to tell the story of what was happening here in our backyard to people who aren't here, because nothing is as effective as images, right? So as the drone pans back and starts to look out across the fields, you can actually see, even if you don't know the neighborhood, even if you don't know the valley, you can see the extent of the flooding, and that actually means something to people. So using drones as a tool for communication in media is huge, and it's just being increasingly used throughout sort of the media empire. Because, I mean, look at this, right? How else do you tell people that story, and how else do you show them what's been happening and communicate it to them so that they care and they help out? So speaking of cinematography and communicating your message, you can also do fun things. So one of the drones we don't have here is called a first-person view. So these are little tiny drones that have great cameras on them, and you fly them with goggles, right? So it's immersive. This drone is maybe the size of my fist, and it's flying around this bowling alley. There's a guy piloting this live, going past people. And so it just enables you to see things in a new way and a fun way, and gives you a view of a bowling alley that I never knew existed. And this is truly like playing a video game. My boyfriend's a big gamer, and like this is how he flies drones, right? Or he wishes he did. Everyone who's in this video is aware that this is going on. It was very staged, so no one's about to get hit by a drone, even if it looks a little suspect. Oh, and yeah, you can tell your kids and your grandkids, this is actually a job. People get paid a lot of money to fly drones as well and create promotional content. So yes, you can get a job with gaming skills.
All right, so on to what we do. So we developed a program at UC Santa Cruz called Cider. This is a program that Becca runs. And the reason we started this program is because we heard from students and faculty on campus saying, we know about drones, but we don't know how to use them. We want to be using them in our research. Students wanted to be using them in their work, and they just didn't have a pathway to do that. So we started this program to train students to learn how to fly drones and to get what's called the FAA Part 107 Commercial Drone Pilot's License. So once they have that, they can fly a drone and get paid to do it. So in the 2 years we've been running the program, we've trained 45 undergraduates and placed a number of those into full-time paid positions or into research positions. And we've taken that curriculum that we've developed and through support from the James Irvine Foundation are developing community programs to train people to use drones in agriculture, in infrastructure inspection, in media and entertainment. So our partners are Hartnell College and the Digital National Program initially. Those are our first partners. And we've developed programs and trained students through both of those partnerships and a number of community members. So let's just skip through that. So we've done events with both Hartnell and other community organizations. We are very excited to do additional community events, and these involve us coming out and setting up our drones, teaching people how to operate them, and get a sense of what some of the opportunities are using these tools and how easy it is to start using these tools. I also forgot to mention one of our other partners is the MESA program that you may have heard of. It's in a number of our local high schools and colleges. It's the Math, Engineering, Science Achievement Program. So we did a drone camp at a middle school in Soledad in the summer, just piloting that. So that's something we're going to work on rolling out more of going forward in other local schools to really help create that pathway, cement students' interest in this. Because the bottom line is this kind of looks like a toy. It's a lot of fun to fly, and pretty much any kid who has an opportunity to do this is going to get interested, and it's a fantastic pathway into learning more about science and engineering concepts. Yep.
So with our work with Hartnell, we're working with them to create CTE pathways, but also create programs and classes you can take on campus. And so as a response of our drone camp that we had last month, had a week-long training at their Castroville campus, they have created a independent study. I don't know the course number for it, but anyone who's interested, we can get you that information. It's a half-credit online course, so I think it's like $30 to take it. And
$23. What? $23.
$23, sorry. And it's basically independent study. So to get paid as a drone pilot, you have to have your FAA pilot's license. You have to pass this exam. And the cost of the exam is $175. If you do this independent study, they will pay you to take the test. So for $23, you can get your pilot's license and then be paid to do drone work. So if anyone's interested, that's available.
And we're working with Hartnell to set up some financial aid opportunities as well. So for people who are interested, who don't have the means, we'll set up some scholarships for people to take that half-credit course. And as Becca said, they'll pay the $175 for you to get your Part 107 exam. So it's a great opportunity.
Also included in the course is access to the content to learn the material. So videos, practice tests, written content, that kind of thing. And then there'll be someone you can talk to who can answer your questions if you need help with a topic or something like that. All that information and support will be available.
So just a few examples of some of the events we've done in the community. An organization called ALBA, which is training farm workers to learn how to run organic farms. We've done trainings with them. Here are some images that a bunch of the students from that program took. Most of them had never, I think only one had flown a drone. So these are people who had never flown a drone. These are some of the pictures they took. A few testimonials. We've done workshops at Digital Nest. And as I said, we would love to come down and do a drone demo for everyone here, or if you're a representative of another community organization and you're interested in having us come down and do one for youth or for your own membership, we're very excited to do that. So please grab a card from me or Rosalyn will have our contact info and reach out to us, and we'd love to set that up. So thank you again for your time.
I know it took a while, but this is information that is just being distributed in our community for the first time. So I hope that you all got a lot out of it. And like they mentioned, they're going to be here until we're done. So any questions that you have, you can take to them, and you can always reach out to me for connections if you don't get them. I'm calling up Pastor Smith right now, and I just want to say that you know, we're completely off the agenda. It feels like church, you know, we can't always just go off the program. So
we don't do that at church.
So we really did, you know, I hope that welcome was suffice, because we really did have a whole plan to, you know, get in a circle and really bring out why we're here, because, you know, we titled this Black August because it's August, and August is so important to the Black community, and, you know, we wanted to make sure that we kept going after Juneteenth, and that we're not just present with each other during the month of February and during Juneteenth. So this was an ideal time. We really didn't get to share what the meaning of Black August is, but most of you may already know, and if you don't, we'll make sure we'll flood our social medias and put stuff out there. If you're not following us, you should after tonight. I'm just talking until you come. My pastor don't like dry air.
Come on, let's give Roz a hand. And so like she said, we're completely off the agenda for tonight, so we're sitting over there in nature still trying to figure out where we can get back on track. So we have to cut out like 3/4 of the agenda. But it is so good to see so many out here tonight, and we know that a lot of people have already left. You know how we do, we eat and then we leave, right? So next time, Ross, I think we serve the food after the fact. And make sure people stay here. But anyway, so I want to, and once again, we're supposed to get in groups, but of course that's not going to happen now because we're just all over the place. But one question I want to ask is a reflection on when have we been strongest as a Black community? And I think that, you know, as we're reflecting on that question, those of you who were here when Fort Ord was at its highest point realized that as a Black community we were really, really strong then because the numbers were actually there. And so if I were to ask you the question, you know, as a group, when were we, when have we been the strongest as a Black community? And so talk back to me if you will. Well, Deja is raising her hand. You're raising your hand because. Say again?
The Alabama draw.
The Alabama. Oh, okay.
Yeah!
When the hat went up, right? Okay, that did show unity, right? It did show unity. It did show that we know how to come together to fight, right?
Yeah.
So, what else? Yes, Miss Lisa.
I think we came together as one under what happened with George Floyd. I think we really came together.
Yeah, I would have to agree with her as well, because so many things did come out of that conflict, and a lot of times out of conflict and pain does come purpose, and so a lot of things did come forth out of that. I would totally agree. Robert, yes.
And with the baby doll situation happening in these hot.
Robert said when the baby doll incident happened in Seaside, and so the community was in, the black community did come together for that, and we rallied, and once again, I don't know if you're at that school board when that did take place, but you could not get a seat, not only in the meeting space, but the entire parking lot was filled. And I know our numbers as black people are dwindling in Monterey County, but there's still quite a few of us here. And so when we need to throw the hat up, we do come out of the woodwork and we do come together. There's a, yes, Asia.
Black Wall Street?
Black Wall Street. Does anyone know what Black Wall Street is? Everyone, we all know it? Okay. So we're all up on our history. Rosalind.
I think specifically for our community, the time that we were the strongest was when Dr. Charlie Knight went and recruited a lot of black educators and brought them to the peninsula, and then that way we were able to start thriving in education. Our kids were thriving and our community was growing because those of us that came here via military were able to get other family members and bring them back, and that was actually how Seaside formed, because we were at one point Ord Village, right? We were just a little village off of Fort Ord, and then we grew. We were the largest population of black community between LA and the Bay for many years. So I think that we were really strong then. Our churches were full. I mean, if you count now in Seaside particularly, we have over a dozen black churches that are still here. And then as we started to migrate around, we started moving to Salinas and South County, Soledad, where the economy was easier for us to purchase. We started moving out to Los Banos and Las Vegas and Atlanta. So I think that, for our community here, that was, really a time that we were really strong.
I think it's probably when our children go off to college, they don't come back.
Right.
And so that leaves an empty.
Because it's not affordable, right?
Absolutely. So we're actually working on that problem as we speak, because so many of our children are going off getting educated, but they cannot come back here simply because they can't afford to live here anymore. I personally have 5 daughters who are in college, and they're all over the country because they can't come back here, because even though they can find a job here, the job is not paying enough to sustain them here. And so we're working on that effort as well. So absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I think as a community, we were our strongest in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, a lot of black-owned businesses here in Seaside. Predominantly black people were here, black and white. Very few Hispanic, no disrespect, very few Hawaiians, but it was mostly blacks and white. 60s, 70s, when I was growing up, 80s, I've been here all my life. That's when we were strong. We had a lot of black-owned businesses all the way up and down Broadway.
Yes.
Okay, Fremont, wherever, black-owned businesses. When people start moving around and selling to go to Vegas or wherever, that's when we kind of went down. We do have a strong black community in churches, in our churches. That's where you're going to find black people in church. Okay? Every Sunday or every other Sunday, that's where we're at. Or at games. But I think we're stronger at 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Okay? And it's not like that anymore.
And she brings up a very good point. You know, on Sunday mornings we're really at our strongest. But there's also a sad commentary, and I was telling a group this not too long ago, that if you really want to see the majority of black people, go to Chinatown. Go to Chinatown. A lot of our black people are homeless, living on the streets, mental illnesses. And so there's still a lot of work that we have as a black community must do. And so I don't want to cut anyone else off. Is there Pastor Britt?
He said Operation Shoestring.
Operation Shoestring. How many of you guys know Operation Shoestring, right? Yeah. Pastor H.H. Russ, right? Right. He actually, Pastor Russ was the actually one who went and recruited so many black educators. But was he with Dr. Chong? Okay, I got my history wrong. Thank you. I'm sorry. Educator brother, please. Shucks, I got the story wrong. Tell the story.
Yeah, I worked for Charlie Knight back in 1971 until she left here in 1978, and at that time Wilson Wiles had reported her and promoted her to the Director of Elementary Education of the state of California. She left there, went to Southern California as a superintendent, and then she returned up to East Palo Alto. I went there. She called me after I went there. But the things that were going on back in the 60s and 70s was largely due to what she had endured when she came here, and then she got hired at the district and became Director of Special Projects. She was the one bringing in Title I money, child development. There was 4 child development centers on this peninsula. And then she assisted Reverend Les to start Operation Shoestring. She also was responsible for a lot getting our mothers who were on welfare to start working in the schools as instructional aides in the classroom. Okay? And doing this, that's what she wrote her master's thesis about, instructional aid program. And now today, you know, people don't know that basically she's the one that started instructional aids in the state of California. And it is spread all over. The other thing was the California Association of Compensatory Education. She united our parents, not just here on the peninsula, but throughout the state of California, to let them know their rights and to make sure you need to get in and find out what your kids are learning about. These are things. Some of those parents decided to go back to school. They went to MCBC. They got their degrees. Some of them went on and got their bachelors. Okay, the military men who are retired, a lot of them, because of the things that Dr. Knight was doing in this community, encouraged them to go back and get degrees and all of this. So that's what was really thriving about this peninsula, at least from the time I came here in 1971 until I went to for 1990, and we were still doing good. But of course, you have to give credit to the military. Because we had black men on this peninsula who were men, okay? And they were making sure our children were doing the right thing. When they started selling drugs on the corner, they united and they were standing on the corner, okay? And those boys wasn't going everywhere. And it was really surprising to me that the size of our peninsula, the city of Seaside, versus what I went into in East Palo Alto, where, you know, the parents, they wouldn't tell them their kids, and they knew they were drug dealing, they knew they were doing these things. But here on this peninsula, these men, they knew what the kids were doing, and so they got out there and made sure that they stopped. So that's my history of what was going on. I raised both of my kids here, and they both graduated. And I am proud to say that even though my son has been away, he is back here now, okay, working with our children. because of the education he got. I feel like he's bringing it back and bringing it all our culture.
Let's give her a hand right there for his story. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
So I'd like to add to what she said, because what Dr. Knight did was, she's one of the unsung heroes from the community that did go out and bring a lot of black people, educators in, but where you got confused with Reverend Lusk was that Reverend Lusk hired more African Americans at one time. That's right. Because at Shoestring there was upward of 72 faculty members there at one time, and 95% of them were African American. And not only did he do that, he found the resources to educate them. Right. He found the resources to send them to school and educate them. I said that to say we need to go back to that, because just like he just explained that drone program. Our young people, everybody don't want to go to college. Everybody don't want to go to college. It don't mean that they can't have a better tomorrow. So we have to go back to having apprentice programs in our community. And you know, you have Ms. Rucker sitting over there. You have Ms. Watts sitting over there. Oh, hi, Dr.
I was going to ask Dr. Betty Lusk out there.
But you know, we stand on those shoulders. You have two African American pastors who are part of the second, I don't know how to word that right, but they came from giants. You know what I mean? They came from giants. And it's they have the baton now to take the baton forward, even so, I mean, as you do also. But we have a responsibility. And for me, I really think that I'm glad that what happened with George Floyd, it birthed a lot of things. Because out of that, this caucus came. I just think we need to get busy. We're not doing enough, and our people are dying on the vine. Period.
I totally agree. And I think all of us in this room would agree that there is so much more that we need to do, especially in our black communities. And I want to acknowledge our giants who are sitting here, Dr. Betty Lusk and Ruthie Watts.
My name is Helen.
Oh, I know your name. I said this wrong. I said Betty Lusk. I said Ruthie Watts. I said R.O.C. You correct. No, wait, hold on. See, hold on.
How many in this room ever attended the Monterey Multicultural Conference back in the 70s? I said, how many people in this room ever attended the Monterey Multicultural Conference? And wasn't that a beautiful sight to see? Not only people here, but all over the state of California, as well as we have some national visitors here. Amazing people came here. Even Martin Luther King's daddy and his sister came to one of our, Coretta Scott King came every year. And the other thing, how many remember people like Billy DeBerry, Dr. Hutchins, James Manning? Those were some of the educators that Dr. Knight was doing and brought here to the peninsula. So, you know, I think we were really doing good back in the day. We had things going, we had our kids learning, and we, like Lisa just said, we've got to get back.
And we have Sister Claypool right here also, in our community.
And I'd like to introduce a new trailblazer. Please stand. This is Dr. Diane Fitzpatrick, and she is the new principal of the Central Coast Continuation High School right now. So we are still continuing to bring African American and other administrators and teachers to this district. It's not as easy now as it was before, because our historical black colleges and universities are not really focused on the educational programs that would prepare students to be our teachers. And hopefully that partnership now with Dr. Littleton is going to occur even more so in CSUMB. So we're just hoping that that's going to be an avenue by which we can bring African American students here. And the district, the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, has a program, the Alder Academy, that is receiving those that are interested in being teachers. This from Trustee Green, and you can talk about that. But those that are
just going to give a shout out to my very own firstborn son, Tim, who is actually in the Alder program, and he's getting his certification right now as we speak, and he's really teaching his alma mater.
That's how we're growing our African American teachers. He is going to bring one once he finishes, and that's how we have to do this, okay?
Good, good, wonderful. Let's give him another hand. So with that being said, we the Monterey County Black Caucus has, if I can say that, so we're coming with 10 priorities. And so jumping ahead on our agenda, one of the activities that we were supposed to do is to get you as a group to come up and prioritize these things that we have identified in our community. And so I'm going to read them off, and I think if I can just read them off to you, and then we can figure out how to get you to prioritizing these, because our numbers have dwindled, we want to make sure that we are prioritizing the things in our community that we feel are important to us as a people. And so one of them is dismantling school to pipeline prison, building solidarity across communities, reentry, ending mass incarceration over policing, building solidarity within the Black community, building political power, housing, displacement, reparations, sustainable wages, jobs, economic power, Black-owned businesses, which she spoke to, addressing anti-Blackness in schools, and then healing and repair, addressing racialized traumas, and that's happened collectively. And so what we did with these 10, banners falling here, we didn't have our other easel to hold it up. So what we do with these 10, we would like for you, and we want to do it now, we would like for you, there should be dots on your table, and to pick your top 3 priorities, if we can get you to do that, and then we'll come back, and then Rob's going to have some information, because there was so much information that we wanted to get out tonight that we did not get out because of the information that was shared earlier. We'll come back with a reconvening, which we can come back and do this again in the very near future. Is that all right?
And then just to add to that, we have some little squares with our logo on it that we're going to put on the tables. And this is for, you know, those of you that want to be more vocal, you know, be more visible in the work that we're doing in the community. You can put your name, your number, your email, and if any of these 10 here didn't hit your top priority, write it on here, you know, and make sure that we get that. So when we come back together again, we'll be able to really dive deep into these priorities and what it is that we need in our community. So, and not just 1 or 2 or 3 things that we mentioned, but overall, because just looking around the room, we are definitely intergenerational, and I love it. I love seeing it. We have our elders, our pillars, you know, and down to the babies that keep crying, and we don't care. We want to hear babies crying, right? That means growing for us. So yeah, we're gonna pass these out too, and then you can go up as you see. You can have pair share at your tables, you know, and talk to each other and maybe land on some things together. But really center to what impacts you directly, you know, and even in your household, something to that extreme. Because we know what may be impacting our neighbors, but we want to know what's impacting you as well.